My next guest will face Lance Gibson Jr., Bellator 244 going down August the 21st. And of course, it is Shane Kruchten. Shane, how are you, sir?
What's going on, man? How you doing?
I'm good. I appreciate the time and I'm excited to see you step back in the cage. It's been a minute since we've actually seen you compete. It's been over a year now. When did you get this call? And I assume that you have been really training and preparing for this short notice fight.
Yeah, I train all the time anyways. I train full time as it is. I own my, I have my own gym. My fingers are in all different aspects of mixed martial arts 24 hours a day. So basically, right before all this COVID stuff happened, I was trying to campaign for a fight. I took some time off to, be a student again and be a student of the game again. And it wasn't that much time off. It was just, the end of the year. And then I started really getting back in shape, and then COVID happened, and it just really stuck a fork in my plans. I was able to lead my wife to a state title as well as an organizational title. My wife is now undefeated. She's turning pro, so it was kind of cool to lead her to that towards the latter part of last year. And then this call came, with all the COVID stuff. I've still been training full time, still training all throughout it. And then all of a sudden, I got a phone call and they're like, hey, you got a 2-week notice. You want to fight Lance Gibson Jr.? And I was like, duh. I got a lot of respect for Lance Gibson Jr. As well as Lance Gibson Jr. Well, senior, the second, and stepmom, Julie Budd. I mean, you can't take any accolades away from that family. That family is an amazing, well-accomplished family. I mean, the dad, UFC, Hall of Fame boxer, accolades are just, you can't stack them high enough. But I can't take anything away from him. So when I got the opportunity to fight somebody like that, it's awesome. It's, young up-and-comer, undefeated. I mean, it's an honor to step inside a cage anytime with somebody that's not only, fights for what they believe in, which is, if you look at their Instagram or their family's Instagrams, you can easily tell they do that. That they believe in what they preach. You can believe they say that, and they're honorable. Boom. That makes for a great matchup in any realm.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I'm really excited for this fight. Just the card in general, it's really shaping up very nicely. I do want to talk, about dive into a little bit more in depth as to what life has been like for you, especially during this pandemic. And, I follow you on social media. You're a great follow. First, I just want to say thank you for everything that you've done for our wonderful country. You're obviously a Marine and you're giving back on a daily basis. Tell me what has, I guess, been the biggest change for your day-to-day life during this pandemic?
During this pandemic, my biggest change was finding out who the real snitches in life are. Just being realistic, running a gym and not. So if you follow my social media as well as anybody else out there that follows my social media, I'm very pro-American and pro my rights, pro my, Constitution. I live and die, this little cool piece of paper that was signed back in the 1700s. That's called the Declaration of Independence. So if you look at that and I'm all about safety for people, but, I've really had to, kind of circle my wagons closer and more or less pick my friends a lot closer. You really, when people get scared, you find the rats on the ship, right? And they, the good people will stay on the ship until that bad boy sinks and the bad people run away. So during this pandemic, my company has taken one heck of a hit. My own War Rhino Inc. Incorporated, which is a construction firm. We took a big hit, but at the same time, I turned around and said, okay, I took a hit here. How can I better aspect my life in another way? So I ended up, I now am co-heading a gym. We opened that up on May the 1st. We got, it just, a lot of positives have been happening, been helping out veterans around the community that, need things during this time, don't have the money, don't have the resources. I don't have much, but I'll give what I have. So I've been trying to just constantly give and give and give. I'm all about diving and believe that, in the end, God will give me what I deserve.
I'm curious too to get your thoughts as to what you envision happening here for our country moving forward. Obviously, this is an election year right around the corner. What do you think is going to happen here over the next few months and into 2021?
I think the pandemic's gone on the first week in November. I mean, I look at Sweden, I look at other countries. I mean, Europe, everybody's open, and everybody's, they've learned to kind of live with it, which is what we have to do. Unfortunately, herd immunity is a real thing, and 26 states are locked down beyond, and I unfortunately live in one, San Diego, California. California is locked down beyond. California, Oregon, and New York are locked down. So, when a lot of fighters, if you look at a lot of the fighters in the UFC, Bellator that are missing weight, they're all coming from the lockdown states right now. I'm not going to miss weight. I'm under 170. I'm fine. I'm good to go. But a lot of these guys are missing weight, and these politicians are using this as a political poll, in my view. And they're really screwing up the livelihoods of a lot of really good Americans, no matter what your job is. I'm not just saying fighting. So I think come November, it all disappears, and we can kind of go back to a semi-normal quasi life.
Mm-hmm. I lived in the greater Los Angeles area for about 5 years. You're obviously yeah, no, it's not as beautiful as San Diego. I spent some time down there. What is it? Is it considerably different where you're at versus LA? I imagine it must be a little different.
Yeah, so I do business trips often to LA. LA, I mean, geez, LA feels like you're in jail. It's really crazy in LA. Luckily, we have a good mayor down here. He hasn't done anything good in his entire stance, except for he said, hey, look, I'm making an executive order against Governor Newsom, and you can hold classes outside, you can do things outside, you can't have entertainment, but you can have restaurants, you can have this and that outside, which is cool. I mean, that's a huge step, right? I mean, step in the right direction. It's summer, but wait till the winter when it's, raining and crap. Like, what are you going to do for these poor businesses? Unfortunately, I see a lot of businesses failing as well. Gyms, one of the Gracie gyms, Carlson Gracie gyms just closed down here, and it's really sad when I start seeing jiu-jitsu gyms. That jiu-jitsu is near and dear to my heart. I've been doing it over 16 years now. And I see these gyms start closing down, and it breaks my heart. Whether it's a well-established gym or it's, just somebody trying to make it. No matter what, it's like you with your podcast, you put all you have into that. And why should somebody lose that because somebody is just trying to, just make their name known? It's really a sad time. So down here, some gyms are doing their things outside, whatever. I've made the LA Times. I made San Diego Union Tribune. I have my gym wide open, lights on, classes 5 days a week, 7-8 classes a day. So I'm not scared. I'm well in defiance of Governor Newsom's order. I believe that mental health is very important, whether it be military, whether it be Joe Schmo, whether it be, somebody working in an office. Right now, during this pandemic, is not the time to stay at home, Uber Eats, McDonald's to your house and be depressed. You need to get out and you need to do things. So down here, luckily, San Diego Sheriff's, San Diego Police Department, I'm very tied in a lot of that community. They've been very supportive of people like just getting out and just as long as you just keep your distance, as long as you do this stuff, the minimum, they're good with you just being out. And that's really huge. And I think that's the most important thing in America right now is people need to realize mental health. It needs to come above and beyond. The liquor stores and the marijuana shops being open is really weird when you can't go to church and you can't go to a mental health care facility, but you can go get a beer or a drink or, some marijuana. Like, come on, guys. I'm a proponent of marijuana, so I'm not talking down on it, but at the same time, come on, you gotta apples to apples. It can't be the opposite.
Yeah. Now, you're a professional mixed martial artist, and you can handle yourself a heck of a lot better than the majority of the common citizens out there in the world. But we live in a very bizarre time right now, and no matter what side of the fence you stand on, there's going to be people that are going to very aggressively disagree with whatever you believe nowadays. When you look at what you're doing with your gym, and you're talking about you're making some significant newspapers and some media sites with what you're doing, have you had any kickback or anybody kind of coming at you for what you're doing?
Oh yeah, we've had people come in and try to the health department and this and that. They really, I have 3 pieces of paper behind the front desk. One piece of paper is the Constitution of the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, and a copy of the 14th Amendment. You can't stop the liberty of an individual in America. And the thing is the California Constitution. So you have to kind of dig into double, right? You have to go into both. We stand there, we stand proud. So the four of us heads, we all butted heads, and we all said, hey, what are we all gonna do? And everybody said, look, we're in this to win this. Let's go. Because we're not there for, personal gain. We're not there for monetary gain. We're there for each individual of that gym. And the outwards cry that has come in, and the support messages I get daily on Instagram from police officers, from SWAT team members, from, I have politicians that are friends with me that give me support, that say, hey, look, you're doing a great thing. The VA, last week, they said that there's been more deaths per day from suicide due to the lockdown now than there is COVID. That is an embarrassing statistic. That statistic should never even be on the board. And why? Because we can't go to the gym. Like, if people realize you can replace depression in the gym, or even just being able to just go somewhere and see, like SeaWorld or something, it's really a sad thing when they lock down. My daughter's 6 years old, about to be 7. I can't bring her to the park because they have yellow tape around it because COVID lives there. But I can go to Home Depot and be in a completely packed aisle. Come on, man. I just don't think anybody's really logically looking at this. They're looking at this as a fear standpoint, and everybody's kind of falling in line. Nobody did real research on the masks. They just said, oh, well, the news said I have to wear it. Put it on. I refuse to wear masks. I will wear a mask for fight week because it's Bellator and it's my employer. And you know what? Out of respect for each of those guys, for Rich Chu, for Mike Hogan, for Scott Coker, I will wear a mask. But other than that, I'm not wearing one. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, I know we're all excited to see you step back into the cage here soon. I do want to ask, I was kind of creeping your social media before this interview, and I saw you shared something fairly, I don't know if it was a couple years ago, but you throwing out the first pitch at Petco Park. How long was that?
Yeah, man, that was 4 years ago now. I threw out the first pitch at Petco Park. Little unbeknownst fact, 8 years ago, I was on the Brewers. So, I'm tied into baseball, man. I'm big in baseball. I'm tied in. I got to throw out the ceremonial first pitch 4 years ago at Petco. It's crazy when I look at baseball, and my post that you're mentioning, I said, I miss baseball. I wonder if it misses me. It's like watching it on TV is not the same thing, man. Being in the stands, being there, I've been to numerous World Series. It's sad. It's disheartening not to be able to be in the stands.
What do you think is going to happen here moving forward? Because I know it seems like the NBA is doing it right. They have a bubble, and they haven't had any positive tests since they've had the players there. With baseball, it's a little bit trickier. There's more, guys on a team, and they're traveling to different stadiums to play. Do you see them finishing the season?
That's a tough question. In kind of caveat to that, I see the bubble. Bellator has the bubble. And they haven't had fighters falling off. They haven't had corners falling off. They're mandating tests. I got a test today at my house for next week before travel, and like we got numerous tests next week before we actually get in the fight. So it's really cool to, have an organization like Bellator doing that. Having an organization like the NBA locking everybody down is really a cool thing. Major League Baseball, I don't know if you saw the articles yesterday. They came out saying, hey, look, for postseason, we're going to have a bubble. And I'm like, oh, no. Because it's kind of scary. I don't think with baseball, it's not the same as NBA. They have to travel. NBA, they can all play on one court. You can just stack the games. You can't really do that with baseball because baseball games go so darn long. So I don't know, man. I'm kind of worried. The Brewers already missed their opening day. A lot of teams are missing their big games. Florida teams are absolutely ransacked. So I hope they do. I really want to see a World Series this year, but it's gonna be weird, a World Series with no fans in the stands.
Oh, tell me about it. Who's the best baseball player that you've ever seen?
Ever seen or ever like known in the world?
Or either or.
Okay, I think Jackie Robinson, number one and foremost. Not only his play, not only his, the way he carried himself, and the landmarks that Jackie was able to do within baseball, within America, to make break down boundaries for Black Americans and Black players worldwide to be able to play the way they do and be able to showcase themselves is amazing. And I nothing but hail respect to Jackie Robinson, number 42, 100%. Honestly, I'm going to say it is a close between young Ryan Braun, and Christian Yelich. Like those two emulate one another so much, people don't realize. Yes, I'm definitely calling two Brewers, but and both are friends of mine. But it is what it is. Actually, and on that same list, Chris Davis, Oakland A's. Wow. I mean, the most underrated player, I think, in modern baseball era is Chris Davis.
Yeah, I'm from New England, so I'm a diehard Red Sox fan. So I always lean towards the most clutch David Ortiz. What he did in the postseason. I'll never forget. I'll remember.
I don't have any respect for designated hitters. Come on now.
I bet you if he was on the Brewers, you'd be loving life, though, right?
I'd be like, oh man, David Ortiz.
Yeah, right. Well, before we dive into your MMA career and talk about this fight, I do want to just touch upon, you mentioned your wife earlier and her evolution, and she's turning pro. Tell me, what's the ceiling for her?
I don't see one right now. We got offered a fight. She got offered a fight, last week for LFA. Unbeknownst to me, the day after my fight, and she got offered the fight, and unfortunately we had to turn it down. There just wasn't enough time for the opponent, and that was a heck of a debut. But I mean, 2 weeks notice for a debut isn't the same as a 15-year pro getting a 2-week notice fight. So my wife is ready to go. She's ready to do what she needs to do and put hands on people. She's 4 or 5 wins are all knockouts. So, I mean, she's got more knockouts in 4 fights than I do in almost 20. So I can't take that away from my wife. I know from personal experience, I would never PO my wife. My wife has socked me in the gym too many times, and I'm like, whoa, back off. So, I think she's a force to be reckoned with, the mean being in the 115 division, and she'll be breaking on the scene soon.
That's exciting. Are you envision her to take that step to Bellator, the UFC? Like, where do you see that transition for her?
Unfortunately, not Bellator. They don't have a 115 division yet. I mean, if they made one, yeah, absolutely. I would love that. I think you'll see her in the UFC probably by the end of next year. I'm hoping.
That's fantastic. Now, the last time we did see you fight was in March of 2019. Unfortunately, didn't go your way. You got finished by Daniel Straus. What's the takeaway from this one? Is it just a situation where, everyone gets caught here and there? What are you looking back at that now, and how are you, moving forward from it?
Like I tell everybody, man, I zigged when I should have zagged on that fight, and everything was going great. I became a student again. Eddie Cha, led me to a great game plan. I was listening. Everything was going great in the fight for me. And unfortunately, I got a little zealous. I got a little overzealous in the fight, and I was like, oh, it's working. Woo, watch this. And I started admiring my work. Gosh darn it. That's been one of my flaws in my career is, I started overzealous, and I got a little too proud of my work, started watching it. And next thing you know, when I pulled out, to the side, I didn't pull my foot with me, and boom, I ate a straight left down the center. Nothing but respect and hat off to Daniel Straus. He did what he did, and he owned that night. We got some drinks that night, and we're able to talk about it. Daniel's still a good friend of mine. I have nothing but the utmost respect for him, and it is what it is. But I have to move on to the next one. If I live in the past, then I'll never move on to the future.
Yeah, and if I'm not mistaken, you were on quite a win streak right up until these last 4 fights. You've lost 3 of 4. Looking back on it now, is there a reason maybe for that skid other than you just fighting elite competition? And how have you kind of, combated that and got yourself back on the horse here?
Yeah, that is good, great question. And unfortunately, you know, coming off of, you know, a 12 fight win streak, and then losing to Mike, lost to Mike in WSOF 9, and then winning again at Jeremy Mahone, and then I lost the last two, Aaron Pico and Daniel Straus. Yeah, man, it's absolutely devastating when you go on such a tear. You know, if you look at the record, I won a 25-minute championship fight. I beat people that I wasn't supposed to beat, you know, and I just kept winning. I got over complacent on my own self, right? I built my own bubble, and I believed my own hype. And after I lost to Mike, no big deal. I came back and I won at Madison Square Garden, and I was like, yo, the hype is, you know, I'm real. It's back. Da 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 da. And then I got, you know, I went in Pico and boom, lost. I was like, son of a gun. You know, I think it was just so many years in the game. I got so complacent, and after so long, I was like, okay. And I was so worried about being the teacher, and I had to start being the student again. That didn't even start until just before the Straus fight. I started being the student again, being the sponge and taking in information, going to regular classes, man. You'll catch me in regular MMA classes, regular kickboxing classes. I'm not over in the privates. I'm taking these regular classes, just stepping in the back, and I just want to hear. I just want to learn. I travel the world, and everywhere I go, I try to take classes. Why? Because I always want to be a student. I want to be that student. You cannot be a good mixed martial artist without being a student as well. And that's kind of where I lost the track. But in the last year, you know, I've been doing some backyard, or not backyard, but underground trainings. God, backyard sounds so third world. But no, I've been doing some underground stuff and really working with people, going back to my roots, going back to what made me who I was for that 12 fight win streak. I went back to those same individuals. We've been working, you know, in the lab and just grinding. And it's really cool to watch the evolution happen even through this COVID stuff, and be able to walk in. Last week I walked in, and one of my head coaches was like, wait, where the hell did you learn all that? You know, he didn't know I've been doing all this stuff out on the side. But that was part of me being a student again, is, you know, I had to disconnect myself from the norm, the places I was comfortable in, and become comfortable with the uncomfortable. And that's why I purposely put myself back in the original, you know, kind of slums, if you would, of training with the people that made me who I was and became who I am.
Yeah, that's fantastic, and it's great to hear. Let me ask you this, Shane. How much longer do you envision yourself fighting for, and what are your goals now? Like, what is it that you want to say you accomplish before you hang it up and move on to the next chapter of your life?
You know, I don't really have a time frame. My body is still agreeing with me. My body's still actually, it's kind of weird after 15 years. You think, you know, bodies start to break down. My good friend Tito Ortiz, you know, every time I talk to him about it, I'm like, yo, when did you know it's time? And he's like, man, I thought I knew it was time around the 17-year mark. And then my body told me, no, you're good. And he now is at 20 something years, you know? And I had a reckoning after the Straus fight, and I looked at my wife and I said, is it time? You know, and she's like, I don't know. I texted a few of my buddies in the sport, and I said, hey, when do you know it's time? And a good friend of mine told me, a UFC vet, YL Watson, told me, hey, look, you know it's time when you can no longer hurt people and be comfortable with it. And I was like, well, that's not me, so I'm good. I'm all about that violence, dude. Like, let's live that life. And YL starts laughing at me, you know. So it's like, he's like, yeah, you're crazy white boy. That's what he keeps calling me. So, you know, I'm good to go, man. You know, it's as long as my body agrees with me, as long as I can still get up in the morning and still do cardio. I think I'm just a stubborn Marine that loves the violence, loves the battle, loves the war. But, you know, as far as goals, you know, I wouldn't mind, you know, getting my name back in people's mouth in a good aspect. I want my name back in the mix. And, you know, am I saying I'm championship material and all this? I don't know. But I do know that I can still hang with the best. I do know that I can still go in there and compete with the young kids. I can still go in there and show them what this old buck's all about, and that this old war dog still has gas in the tank. My future goals, biggest thing is get my wife. I want my wife in the show. I want to wear my wife's name down my back. I want to be in her corner. I want to lead my wife to victory in the big show. I want to be able to hold her head high and show her, look, you set out with a goal. You've made it. I'm proud of you. That is my biggest goal in this sport.
That's very cool. How old are you now?
Oh God. No, I'm 35, man. You know, I'm 35 years old. My first pro fight was when I was 20 in July of, it was just after my 20th birthday in July of 05.
Well, 35 is the new 25. So remember, that's how it's rolling nowadays, especially in the age of Tom Brady. But I'll digress there. Let me ask you this. What is your current contractual situation with Bellator? Do you have one? And are you open to signing anywhere?
No, this is it. This is the last, you know, this is a one-off. I had completed my contract previously with Daniel Straus. That was my contract. And then they gave me this fight, you know, which was, you know, thank you again to Mike Hogan and Rich Chu, and Scott Coker for seeing they're in the Shane game. Obviously they brought me back. They see something, you know, which is awesome. And I can't show enough appreciation for that. You know, and am I open to signing anywhere? I mean, I'm open. I just love violence. I love to fight. I love to bring the fight. I love to bring, you know, positive attitude. I don't trash talk opponents. I do nothing but, you know, I'll show promise to the opponent, but I'll never trash talk an opponent unless it's warranted. And there's only ever been one opponent that's ever warranted a trash talk, and that was years ago. So it's all good.
All right, well, this is a really exciting matchup. You're facing an undefeated, up-and-coming prospect with a lot of steam behind him, and, you know, rightfully so. He, as we talked about it earlier, he's got some legit, you know, athletes around him and comes from a great background. Who will be making the trip with you to the Mohegan Sun come fight night? Who will be there in your corner?
It will be Bill Crawford and my wife, Reena Norville.
Okay. And as far as the matchup goes with Lance, when you look at his skill set, where do you feel like, you know, you're going to have the advantage here in this fight? Do you feel like you're going to be able to kind of outclass him in a certain skill set?
You know, I think Lance comes with an amazing accolade with his kickboxing. I don't possess it. I've never been a kickboxer. You can watch all my fights. I don't kick. I come with a background in karate, wrestling, and jiu-jitsu. You know, and I'm not scared to throw. I will stand in the pocket, but I think my cage time speaks for itself. I've been able to make it through a 25-minute fight, numerous 15-minute fights, be able to weather the storm. You know, he's never really had to weather that storm yet. I think his longest fight is 3 minutes. He's also never fought somebody that is able to match him with his wrestling accolades. You know, I watch his previous fights, and, you know, nobody's ever really given him a grind. Nobody's ever given him that old school veteran mentality of just bring the fight to him. And, you know, I think that's where we'll see a difference in the fight, and we'll see how he shines under that.
Without giving away your game plan, do you feel like your best way to win this fight would be to maybe drag him into deep waters and either submit him or finish him late or win a decision?
You know, I'm not one for game plans, you know, because those all erode and collapse in the first 30 seconds of every fight anyways. But, you know, at the same time, you know, I'm going to let the fight evolve as it evolves, whether it evolves and collapses quickly and, you know, I get my hand raised, or it evolves and, you know, goes all the way and I get my hand raised. It's all good, and we'll take it either way.
What's your prediction?
You know, I'm going to darce him.
Darson, okay, all right. Well, I got to tell you, I mean, I'm an MMA fight fan first. That's how I got into doing this. I have a journalism degree, but I love great MMA matchups. This is one I can't wait for. Bellator 244, August the 21st at the Mohegan Sun. Are you excited for all the testing and the quarantining that you're going to have to do once you get there?
Absolutely not. Actually, I got a few text messages while we're on the phone from Bellator right now. They got a at-home test kit coming here, and I'm like, oh, dude, I've had 2 tests. About a month ago, I went to my family's houses in Alaska, and we had to do those COVID tests. Oh my God, dude, you know, I've been shot stabbed and I've been blown up in Iraq and in the States. So it's like, I'll take any one of those three again. I'll take a bullet again before I would take that. Oh my gosh. I tell you, man, that COVID test, like people think it's a joke, dude. No.
Yeah, I just done. I was at the Mohegan Sun for this last Bellator, and I had it done there. So I echo what you're saying 100%. It's not a whole lot of fun. Shane, I sincerely appreciate the time. It's been very, very far too long since we've spoken. Looking forward to this matchup here. Before I let you go, if there's anyone you'd like to thank or any social media you'd like to plug, the floor is yours.
So just want to say, if you want to follow me, War, WAR_RHINO, War Rhino on Instagram. Feel free to follow me there. I'm very right wing, so be prepared. But I'm always willing to listen to both sides. And also, I just want to say I stand with the police. If you're a good cop and you do the job the right way, I stand with you 110%. I always have your back. Continue to do the right thing. As far as that, don't, just go out and thank a veteran. Today more than ever, the rights we have, the ability to do the things we do is because of the veterans that served prior to you even being here on this earth. Make sure you show respect. Please, I beg people to stop destroying monuments to veterans. That has been, some of the monuments I'm all for it, and I see why you're doing it, but please, not the ones for veterans.